It's time for us to turn our attention towards one of the most dynamic and rapidly evolving segments of hospitality industry, and that's luxury. It's no longer defined by marble lobbies or thread counts. It is defined by personalization, by emotional intelligence, and by experience-led design. Luxury reimagined, catering to evolved, empowered, and ever-connected guests. This panel explores how hospitality brands across global markets are responding to a traveler who is more informed, more expressive, more demanding than ever before. Ladies and gentlemen, with a round of applause, let's welcome our distinguished panelists onto the stage, please. We have Mr. Anuraag Bhatnagar, Mr. Gaurav Bhushan, Mr. Neil George, Mr. Stephen Ho joining us, and moderating and drawing the best out of the conversation, Mr. Mohit Nirula.
I think, Steve, you need to just
switch.
So they can match the face with the person.
Okay. Cool. Hopefully they'll recognize us all.
Yeah.
Over to you, Mr. Nirula.
Thank you. Good morning, and thank you to all of you who've bothered to come this early. I know Mandeep was complaining about how difficult it was to get all of you first to get into bed yesterday and then out of bed this morning. So why he should be bothering about who's sleeping where with whom, I don't know, but that's what he was complaining about. But thank you so much for coming. Fantastic panel over here. Mandeep and the team at Hope sent to us the topic that was to be discussed. I discussed it with the panel, and the panel said, no, I can't tell you what they said, but they said, forget it. The F was forget it, we'll do something else. So that's what we're going to do. And it all starts with a little story. I was on a speakerphone, my mom was on the line, my wife was listening, and my mom said, what is this luxury hospitality that you guys do? And my wife said, answer the question like you would explain it to your mother. And you're not allowed to use the following words: curated, bespoke, intimate, artisanal, immersive, rooted, transformative, connected. Without using these words, explain to your mom what you do. So I thought, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to ask them what they're going to say, how they explain it to their mother. And because you're on the left, we start with you.
Okay, easy.
Your mom,
Yeah.
not these words, luxury hospitality.
I just asked Mr. Luxury, my friend over there, Anuraag.
Thank you, Stephen.
Isn't that easy? No, I think if you were to say one word, I would say create an experience. That's important because if you want people to remember, what they have experienced, and it is, the hardware, obviously, everyone can come up with new hardware every year. There will always be a new thing in town. But I think if you really kind of talk about luxury, you really need to create a memory. And I think that experience, that memory will always stay forever. So it's basically down to the software, right? The people. That's what I would say.
Okay. Experiences and people, we go to you, Neil.
So I think I'd say to my mom that it's what she does instinctively when we have guests come home for Diwali. How she welcomes them, how she makes them feel at home, how she knows intuitively who needs what without them having to ask for it. That feeling that she creates in them, us in the hotel business spend a lot of time, effort, and money trying to recreate in a way that we can repeat. And for me, that's the essence, ultimately, of luxury hospitality.
Well, that sounds right to me. Luxury is what mom makes everybody else feel when they come to their home.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go for 2 words, if that's okay, given I have 2 hats. I think luxury needs to be elevated. It needs to be at a level which creates a point of difference. And attached to that, I think luxury has to be fun. Luxury does not need to be boring. In the world of today, luxury is not necessarily white gloves and formal service. There is a whole new world out there that is looking for high experience, high energy luxury, and the whole premise of Ennismore is built on that. So I think you need to have a fun and energy element to luxury. Otherwise, you'll become another commoditized product over a period of time.
Thank.
Well, in my case, my mom has been very actively engaged. You know, we call her like smartdadi.com. She's very wired and connected, and she picks up all these nuances online. So when I was moving to Leela, she actually had this conversation with me, why Leela, why this. So I was trying to describe to her, and if I recollect, I was trying to explain to her that it's a modern royal palace where there are grand staircases, chandeliers, artifacts, art, the best of heritage, where the food has got the best of Indian cuisine as well as global international cuisine. But most importantly, the service is very warm and gracious and home-like, like somebody else mentioned. And everything is very thoughtfully created and detail-oriented. So that was just to give her a gist of how she could correlate to what luxury is.
Well, thank you, and I hope all of you noticed that they did not use the words that are so abused these days. Number two, each one has described luxury based on the person who was coming into the hotel. And because their target segments vary slightly, they've tailored luxury to the customer that was coming in. So thank you for that. And now I come back to Stephen. And Stephen, on this panel, you're one of the big four, right? Like you have in accounting, you've got in our business as well, the big four. But you are not number one or two, etc., which means that you're large, but you're still not so large that you can't be nimble. How does that help you translate luxury in the new products that you bring to the...
Okay, I think first of all, we always say, right, we're the smallest of the big five, right, whatever you call them, but we do have a very unique position because we are big enough to be global, but yet we are small enough to kind of really do things that are very different and be able to really customize the product, whether it's be with an owner and for the, for whatever market we're doing. I mean, let me give you an example, right? How many of you have been to Japan, has been to a hot spring? Okay, right, one. Okay, if you know Japan, right, I think first of all, hot spring is something very, inspirational. People go there, because they want to kind of treat themselves, they want to discover, remote location. And 2 years ago, what we did was that we formed a kind of a joint venture with a small company called Kyoraku, and also with one of our key partner, Takanaka, which is, by the way, a 400-year-old company, right? So what we did was that we said, okay, Japan is so unique, and people who have visited Japan, right, you will never go once. You will always go back time and time again, whether it's for business or because you always discover new things. So we say, why don't we create a modern ryokan? And for those of you who have not been to a ryokan, it's very important that you understand that, first of all, it's very hard to book. You can't even, if you don't speak Japanese, you can't even get in. So we say, why don't we try and create a global platform, yet we retain the tradition of the ryokan. So we came up with something called Atona. By the way, Atona in Japanese means you and me. And we say, look, with this, we're going to modernize it. But when we modernize it, we kept the tradition.
Okay.
And what we did was that we, of course, set up a fund. We did everything. And I think we will be able to count. Now we have 6 locations that are under construction. By the way, these are not big hotels. They are 30 to 40 rooms, very intimate. And we want people to really discover, the community, when they're there, enjoy, it's a wellness treatment, and it serves our customer very well. And I don't think any of the bigger group would have gone into this because it's a small undertaking, but it's going to be big because you're looking at something that is a very unique, and you can actually change the whole dynamic. And your guests, our guests, will want to go there. We're very sure because when it opened, the first one in 2028, I will be the first one to go there. I can tell you that because I need.
Well, listen,
I need my wellness treatment too, right? So I'm going to go there.
Listen, I have to say this to you. I read his bio before coming, and it said running, walking, biking, hiking, it was tiring just reading, you know. But we now move to, and you have to know that the way Mandeep's chosen the panels, they're so different that it is interesting to know each one of them. Neil, for example, is not actually a hotelier. He's into the logging timber business. He started with Starwood, now he's with Rosewood.
Yes. You need to stay with the woods.
Yeah, so he's one of those, the logging professionals. And because I saw this journey amongst all these forests for Neil, I kind of asked him that you can't, as far as the luxury space is concerned, be as different from Starwood, which did everything on scale, to Rosewood, which does everything in a particular way. And without kind of wanting to disparage one against the other or whatever, just if you could just compare and contrast how Rosewood treats luxury vis-a-vis how you used to treat it in Starwood.
Thank you. Listen, I think you made a very, very interesting point, and that is, you know, we're all friends. We all know each other for years, and we all have our own take on luxury, and as does pretty much every hotelier you'll speak to. There's nothing to suggest that there's any one flavor of it that's in any way more valid than others. Our version of luxury probably doesn't have people swinging from chandeliers that Gaurav's does, but you know, it doesn't make it any less or any more valid. Our take on luxury at Rosewood, you know, since you brought up moms, and moms are the theme of the day, luxury for my mom would be if somebody else made the tea for a change and made it exactly how she likes it, and it got given to her without her having to ask for it, and at exactly the right time. And a lot of what we try to do at our hotels is exactly that, and is to recreate that feeling and that emotion of being with people who genuinely care, who you can rely on and you can take comfort from. And this translates into a lot of our service delivery philosophies, into the way we interact with our guests. I won't bore you with a lot of the details, but you know, one of the really interesting differences, I think, coming from Starwood and large brands, is we don't have, for instance, a formal loyalty program with points and statuses and so on. Again, nothing to suggest that these programs are extremely powerful and they serve a very important purpose in our business, but we do it differently. Our loyalty program is invisible. Our guests don't know that it exists. Our guests don't know if they're on it. And if they are on it, they don't know what their status is. It's all behind the scenes, and it's delivered quietly, seamlessly, and in the back. It's a very sophisticated customer recognition program as opposed to a loyalty program. So this sort of permeates everything that we do, and the notion I spoke about earlier on about welcoming guests to your home. So this translates into the way we look at our product. Okay. It's very residential in its feel. We don't do grand lobbies. We do very intimate spaces. The feeling ought to be you're walking into a wealthy friend's home, and your room is their guest room. And so if we walk into one of our rooms and it feels like a hotel room, we've failed. And our goal is it should feel like you're in your friend's guest room, a well-traveled, wealthy friend who likes to have you home and take care of you. That's sort of our version of luxury. This translates into many, many things, which I won't bore you with, but to me, this is the essence of what we do.
Great. I'm going to jump over Gaurav and go to Anuraag, because Anuraag and I go back 40 years. We graduated together from...
You look it, I don't, but...
No, that's true. Listen, luxury comes in all shapes and sizes, so let's not. But you're right, we go back 40 years. I look it, he looks... he looks young as ever. But the point I'm making is, he and I got into an argy-bargy once, and those of you in the audience from India will remember a Hindi movie called Diwar, it's Wall. And in that, there's a tall guy and a short guy, but the roles got reversed. The tall guy says to the short guy, I've got this, that, and the other. And I got into an argy-bargy with Anuraag, and I said, I'm come from the Oberoi, you're Leela. I've got history, I've got legacy, I've got brand, I've got this. And Anuraag turns to me and says, I've got all of this, and I've got Brookfield. So, so given that is the case, in the Hindi version, it is Mere paas maa hai. So we come back to the mother theme again. But in your expansion plans, you're not going as asset light as a lot of the people on this panel. What's the thought process there vis-a-vis luxury and how you wish to control your delivery?
So Mohit, I think the one thing which has been the kind of a common thesis and a theme that everybody has been discussing is that our ultimate consumers and our guests are changing, is shifting from product to experience. So our growth and expansion plans are catering to the evolved luxury consumer and customer. If you look at our current committed pipeline, we are coming in Agra, Ayodhya, Bhatnagar, Ranthambore, Srinagar, Dubai, and BKC. All these destinations are different in a way and yet quite similar. We are coming up in hills, we are coming up in the mountains, we are coming up in wildlife resorts and heritage properties. In Ranthambore, it's a 400-year-old fortress on the river that we are repurposing into a Leela hotel. We are going where the guests are going and where they are seeking experiences and where we can program and curate that itinerary which kind of creates that experience for them. The second thing in terms of when you spoke about, we have a judicious mix of both ownership as well as managed agreement. If you look at our current pipeline, we have close to 2,000 ownership keys. If you look at our committed pipeline, we'll have around 2,500 ownership keys and a similar number of managed keys. So that's a very judicious mix. Yesterday we learned, and everybody's talking the same language, we are at the threshold of a multi-decadal cycle of consumption and aspirational economy in the Indian space. So there is a lot of value to be created through ownership. If you look at ROCE, since you mentioned that the advantages that we have, historically, we have been, even if I take the current levels, between 14% odd. Our yield on cost, based on today's underwriting for all the new projects, is coming to mid to high teens. So it's very value accretive for us to deploy our capital mindfully, versus a management agreement where we make over $1 million on a blended average per hotel.
Yeah.
Still, it may take probably 20 odd managed hotels to give. So we are very judicious about how we are expanding.
Gaurav, I come back to you, and you're in a very interesting space. Number one, you wear so many hats that I get confused which Gaurav I'm talking to. But this is the Ennismore Gaurav, right? On that one, you see, one, I'd like you to explain to the audience, what do you mean by lifestyle luxury? And again, I'd really urge all of us to try and explain everything not from what it isn't, but from what it is, right? So how would you define lifestyle luxury? And given that luxury is as much about design and hardware as it is about software and delivery or programming, how do you deliver this or translate it for the guest? And number two, given lifestyle evolves, how do you keep product that was designed to deliver something today current once the lifestyle has evolved?
Absolutely. Well, thanks. So with the Ennismore hat on, Ennismore was created at the peak of COVID, and we put 6 small kind of lifestyle brands with founders completely involved at the peak of COVID over Zoom. Could have gone badly wrong, because I literally didn't see my team for 6 months after we put the company together. But it was born out of a simple premise. And that premise is that the world is moving towards experiences and towards moving from functionality towards experiential. And that trend was pretty prevalent before COVID. After COVID, it's gone to a whole new level. So the whole focus was creating a lifestyle, an ecosystem of lifestyle hospitality, but not just around hotels, right? And you asked me a question, how do I define lifestyle? There's a word that's been used a couple of times here, which is the foundation of our business, and it's about programming. You know, lifestyle is the most abused word in the business today.
Yep.
I mean, what is a lifestyle hotel? You know, if you hire a cool interior designer and you get a bartender with tattoos, that doesn't make it a lifestyle hotel. Lifestyle hotel is, in our words and in our minds, is about putting the key elements together. Great design, great programming, and then you execute to perfection.
Okay.
Right? So it is really a combination of all the elements that bring you, and it can go from wellness to a high energy place, but it is about a different experience. And if you look at the evolution of Ennismore and the trend that we've been following in the world and the customer, particularly the luxury customer, moving from functionality to experiential, you know, our growth, we started with under 100 hotels 4 years ago. We are now 200 plus hotels with 150 in the pipeline, 50,000 keys, but 60% of our revenue does not come from rooms. So your numbers have got to reflect what you live and breathe.
Okay.
Because the whole point is to provide experiences and drive revenue and ultimately drive a better revenue and EBITDA per square meter through better experiences. We're not doing this just for fun. It's got to be a viable business model, right?
Sure.
So you focus on what drives experiences and then what drives revenue. So part of what we did was create the largest independent F&B platform in the world. So Ennismore focuses on experiences, residential, communities, membership, F&B, because all of that goes into driving a better hotel business.
Understood.
Like, it's all got to come together, and building that ecosystem of customers that are paying a premium to be with you. Neil made a point about CRM, about loyalty. Like, our view on loyalty, we are part of the Accor family. We're very much part of the loyalty platform of Accor. But a huge chunk of our customers are membership-based. They actually pay to be part of the Ennismore ecosystem. Huge part of our business is based on subscription.
Okay.
So, but you have to deliver the experience.
The experience to
quality.
be able to merit that. I'm going to hold off the second part of the question as to how will you keep this ecosystem relevant as people's tastes and lifestyles evolve, and I'll come back to you.
Sure.
But just keep thinking about that as we
Can I just jump in here? You
Sure,
know,
please.
Because I want to kind of look at what he talks about food and beverage. I think, first of all, I think we say we're not the biggest, but when it comes to food and beverage at Hyatt, right?
Yeah.
You know, I don't think, you know, if we say we're number 2, someone would say they're number 1, but I think we're leading the market. And in this instance, it's very important what he said, because we, in India in particular, right, we know, first of all, food is very important. I mean, and we focus on it, and we actually, we've been doing a lot. We have a dedicated F&B team in here, and also, you know, across the region, and particularly in Hong Kong, where we actually study, you know, individual restaurants, because today your competitors are not in the hotel. If you go around, you know, India, you go, I mean, whether it's Goa or Mumbai, you see a lot of standalone restaurants that are doing outstanding work, right? Yeah. And I think the thing is that, how do you bring that into the hotel and make people feel that it's not in the hotel? And I think this is where we have a cutting edge, because we want to work very closely with local entrepreneurs. We want to kind of look for talent, local chefs. And I think it's important that if you bring that into the hotel, if you want to really create something that's memorable, because remember, right, your clientele has to be at least 85-90% local if you want to be successful in food and beverage. That's very important. And we have actually been working very hard on that. And I think you will see a lot of new product that we're going to launch. It's going to showcase what we've done. Maybe, you know, we started very early, right? But I think the good thing is that we're going to bring that back, and we're going to reinvigorate, and we're going to kind of make sure that, you know, we push that limit.
Listen, as you can see, anybody who's good with food is a good friend of mine. So I'm going to go back to you, Neil, and bring up a little more controversial subject. Like I said, Neil's got also, besides Rosewood, he also has a business which does mid-scale. And although he's representing Rosewood over here, I thought this was a question that would be relevant for the audience. And in India, we have a caste system where there are Brahmins and mid-scale and ones lower down the totem pole. And unfortunately, and it is true that in our business in hospitality, we've also kind of pegged things as luxury, upper upscale, premium, etc., etc. And in the way we discuss it in the ecosystem, in the way the awards are presented, in the way categories are announced, there is a pecking order. Luxury comes on top, everything else follows thereafter. And in the way all of us deal with each other, even as colleagues, there is this, the hoity-toity will hobnob with each other and the others will not, etc. And you're supposed to have moved up in life when you move from upper upscale hotel to now running a premium hotel. And I'm asking myself, this is a business. We look after guests. There is the investor. He's put in money. We need to help him get a return. We need to create memories for our guests to go back and want to come back to you again. So we are actually the same business. So why this caste system? How do you, have you sensed this? Why do you feel this is the case, and what do we need to do as a fraternity to change it?
I'm trying to think really hard to think about whether I have faced this. And I don't think I have, genuinely. I look at us. Which one of us is the hoity-toity one?
I have never met a hoity-toity person who said, I'm hoity-toity.
Fair point. But look, I think the important thing is ultimately to be very clear about who you are and what you're doing, and to do everything guided by that North Star, that's your guiding principle. And once you're clear about who you are and what you're doing, then everything follows from there. I think the issues start to creep in, some of what you might be alluding to, when you try to be something else a little bit and something else a little bit, and maybe I can do a valet service, and then I'll be luxury as well. All of this kind of stuff is where this ambiguity and this confusion and this frustration and so on comes up. I think if you're clear about who you are and what you're doing, I'm a 3-star hotel. I'm a very, very good 3-star hotel. I sell my rooms at $75, $100, and that's my business, and I'm going to do it to perfection. To me, that is as good as somebody doing an ultra-luxury hotel at a $2,000 ADR and delivering that. Be true to what you are, and this is easy to say and sometimes difficult to execute.
And I thank you for saying that, Neil. And this message is going out not from a pulpit or from a sermonizing point of view. We are in the business of creating memories for our guests at the price point at which we are positioned. And if we do this well, there's an old story about Alexander invading India and a king called Porus who lost the battle, and Alexander asked him, how do you wish me to deal with you? And Porus said, you should deal with me like a king deals with a king. And all of us who do a wonderful job at what we do have to stand shoulder to shoulder with everybody else who does. And if somebody is doing a lesser or a better job, our role is to help them do the best job that they can, because at our hotels, at our businesses, there is no difference. So, and the more we can embrace that, the better we will be one community rather than these layers within that community. I'll come back now to Anuraag. You see, you're a smallish company compared to the people sitting to your right till you reach me, and then we are roughly the same kind of company, right? What is your moat to ensuring that you don't get trampled on by all that is happening outside of that moat?
I think being a boutique-style ultra-luxury brand and a company gives us many advantages. Firstly, we are singularly focused only on luxury, and I can pick on what Neil said earlier about, and Gaurav said earlier about food and beverage, crafting and creating an ecosystem, whether it's through food and beverage or through wellness or experiences and programming, is extremely important and starts with the real estate and of course translates into the service design and the building design that feeds into the service design. That's important, and I think that gives you a competitive advantage in this aspirational economy. Secondly, this entire built ecosystem has to be catered to by an extremely committed, disciplined, energized workforce, for which I think it's important, like you have done like decades back. Leela has been in this business for 40 years. We have institutionalized for our recruitment and training to cater to this clientele. Plus, we also live and breathe what we call the Leela Dharma. These are our specific commandments that we, from the GM to everybody else in the corporate office and the unit, we look at that. Thirdly, I think having been in this business of singular focus on luxury for over 4 decades, 40 years back when this company and the brand started, we have been able to build a very strong proprietary sales, marketing, distribution network. And plus having access to capital, which allows us to be very mindful and deliberate about our growth opportunities. A combination of all these things come together, I think, puts us in a great stead to grow mindfully where we want to be and who we want to be for. Okay. So I think we are well positioned, and we have been able to perfect to that extent, to some extent, this ecosystem which solves for the future.
Okay. I'll come back to you, Stephen. You're having to do this plus scale with partners who are for who or whose hotels you manage. How do you bring all of this together? I mean, like I mentioned to you, I won't know. I mean, as you see, there is a difference. My title is COO, and all of these are CEOs. The E and O is only one alphabet difference, but I actually have to work for my living.
So do we.
When I look at my CEO, I question that sometimes. So the point I'm making to you is, I won't know how to start if I were to be working in your company to do quality luxury at some scale. How is that even possible with owners who may not always agree?
I think first of all, let me give you a bit of background. I mean, I was with Starwood before, like my 2 colleagues, right? Anuraag and Neil.
Well, you're all woodcutters.
Yeah, yes, we're all woodcutters and hot, we call them, right? But anyway, I think then, of course, Marriott, took over, and then I stayed with Marriott for about 15 months, and then I joined Hyatt almost 8 years ago. And the one thing that attracted me to Hyatt, right? I think it's one word, right? I say care, because at Hyatt we always say care is our superpower, and I must say it's quite amazing because when I look at the company, I mean back then before I joined, I say, why would a general manager only work all his life for one company and not change and retire with the same company? And even after retire, he's still part of the Hyatt family. And I think that is very powerful because you see, Hyatt has created a culture, of care. And I say that, I'll tell you a story, right? We took over a hotel, in 23 in a place called Shanghai, right? By the way, this is a luxury brand. I won't name the brand. You can figure it out. 420 keys. And when the owner was trying to renew the contract, he went to them and they said, well, okay, like all brands, right? Very stiff. Say, you got to renovate the whole hotel, and then we will do it. We'll continue. Then he said, wait a minute. You only run 70% in the last 50 years. You have 420 rooms. Why do you want me to renovate all the rooms, right? They say, well, it's either that or no deal. So he came to us. We look at it. We said, okay, this is interesting. So we know there's certain things we can't change. We can't change the facade. The building is there because there's strict building code. We say, okay, then let's look through it. And we came because, you know what, we care about it. We went to the owner and we said, okay, how about this? We'll change this to 186 room. We'll give you 6 floors back. And we will remove the M&E, which is on a podium. We will relocate them because first of all, it's an old building. We need to relocate them, and we will make a garden out there. And what we wanted to do was we'll create an urban oasis. He said, "You kidding me?" We said, "Yes, we'll get it. We'll make it happen. If you are willing, we're willing to do it." And guess what? We went along, and then COVID came along. The process was delayed for 2 years. But then in September 24, we opened the first global Alila, urban, and it has been very successful.
Right.
On top of that, we really create a scene because with the restaurant, people talked about it, and we had a Chinese designer that came in. That was the beauty of it. So I think there are a lot of opportunities. If you really think about it, if you have empathy and you care about it, and that's why we have owners with now second or third generation that are still with us today. The only reason is because we care about it.
Yeah. Great. Listen, thank you so much. I hope you guys have had some inputs which were very different from what, and I do apologize to the fact that we didn't stick with the topic of this discussion that was there. I know we've missed out on asking how you will change with time, but we are running out of time. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your attention. Thank you for staying with us through all of this. We have a minute. If there's a question, we'll take it to anybody. Otherwise, in about 7 seconds, I'm going to stand up and say thank you for your attention and have a wonderful day. And the 7 seconds are out. Thank you so much.
Good. Thank you.